is expected to happen this week, could even happen as soon as today, that the vice presidential candidate, Joe Biden, will make his selection for a running mate. Already a history-making selection in the process, in that so many women of color are under consideration. And joining us now is UCSD political science professor Thad Kousser to talk about this for a little bit. And Thad, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
So first of all, let's just start out. How critical is this decision for Joe Biden?
Well, it's critical that Joe Biden doesn't do damage to his campaign with this decision. He is the front runner in the presidential race this year, and that means he needs to pick a vice presidential candidate who can be a good partner on the ticket, who can help his campaign, who can, most importantly, govern well with him. But he doesn't need to knock it out of the park. He doesn't need to increase his standing with the public, because he's already doing quite well.
Okay, in terms of then not damaging his standing in the race, among the candidates that he's considering, we know that Kamala Harris seems to be near the top of the list, Susan Rice as well. Either one of those candidates preferable in your eyes?
Well, I think both of these candidates are people who Joe Biden has experience with. He's very comfortable. He's worked with Susan Rice throughout the entire Obama administration, where she served as ambassador to the UN and then NSA. And Kamala Harris is someone who's already been both a prominent member of the Senate from California, but also vetted in a presidential campaign. She's had her run-ins with Joe Biden, but he knows who she is. And so there aren't any new skeletons that are likely to be found in the closet of either of these candidates. He knows that they would serve him well.
Sometimes a vice presidential candidate or a running mate is selected because you're trying to get to voters that you might not get otherwise. In this case, with Joe Biden already appearing to lead in the polls, is that a factor for him in terms of his choice?
Well, I think he needs to shore up support with some key constituencies, and picking a woman of color, which would be a historic choice in the vice presidential race, that could help get people excited about his campaign who might not otherwise be excited about a 78-year-old white man. But what he doesn't need to do is swing for the fences with someone who will completely galvanize his campaign. That's what we saw most prominently in recent memory with John McCain picking Sarah Palin, right? He was trying to reach out to the much more conservative base of the Republican Party. It generated a lot of early excitement, but in part because she hadn't been vetted and made some potential missteps on the way. That was a VP pick that ended up hurting the McCain candidacy, and Joe Biden wants to avoid that kind of experience.
Gotcha. She did appear to become a liability in the long run. In terms of Kamala Harris, of course, being from California, a lot of local folks would be rooting for her. She was a competitor, though, at one time for the presidential ticket. Does she present perhaps too much friction there?
Well, I think they've already been past that. So she rose to prominence in the presidential campaign really by about a year ago, attacking Joe Biden very effectively in a debate. And I think he's had enough time to move past that. Now he sees her as a potential ally who he would like to see on the attack against President Trump.
So we have waited a long time. Very quickly, do we expect to see a decision finally as soon as today, perhaps?
It could happen anytime. It's certainly something where we don't have the conventions, national conventions, of these tent poles to lay out our race. And this is probably the most consequential event, and it could happen any day now.
All right. Thad Kousser, UCSD political science professor. Pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.